Hello, my friends. My name is Laura Mordell. I'm the facilitator of the Vitality Movement and a conscious business consultant. And today I want to talk about dealing with criticism. Criticism is never fun. And honestly, in the beginning of my business, and like even now, sometimes it can really cause me to shrink and it never feels good. But I want to role model to you guys, when you get criticism, like a healthy way to respond to it and to understand that just because someone doesn't find what you're saying is valuable does not mean that it's not valuable or helpful, if that makes sense. So if you guys remember, I posted this video on your energy and how it impacts your client results, right? And it was a very simple video, like obviously very basic knowledge. It's just a free video that I released. And, I had a few likes on it. I had someone comment like pure healing, so funny. I sent it like relating to it. You know what I'm saying? But then I had someone comment that the comment wasn't a positive one. I This girl's been in one of my social circles in the past, and she has a super high up job in the mental health field. So I obviously like really respect her profession, or like her rank in her profession, so to speak. And I bring this up because it's really important to take into account, because oftentimes when we like put someone above us on a knowledge perspective, or so, however you do it, like, oh, this person really knows what they're talking about and they're giving me feedback and they don't like it, so it must mean it's bad. This happens a lot. I have seen this happen all the time. But in this particular case, she applauded me for putting myself out there. And then she said people who are real counselors, therapists, mental health, and general health practitioners who are educated and licensed already know all of these things. Respectfully, you may want to reconsider the audience for this particular segment. I'll be honest, like a few years ago, I would have been like, oh my gosh, like maybe she's right. But at the same time, at this point in my career, I have a lot of experience helping not just licensed practitioners, but also people who have more informal, like coaches. But like even my sister's a developmental therapist, those type of service providers, they're not often educated on all of the tools that maybe a therapist is. And another thing that I have found with the field of therapy, and I've talked to my therapist clients about this isn't just my own opinion, but a lot of times they have a little bit, because they work so hard for their education, right? They feel a bit slighted that like a coach is able to come onto a field, or someone who like she has no idea, honestly, the hundreds upon hundreds of hours I've spent coaching like service providers over the course of my life. My background experience, sometimes they can feel like this person doesn't have a right to be like helping people because she hasn't gone through all of the school. And I've seen this happen a lot, in particular with therapists. So if like you're a coach or someone who has maybe a little bit less like, you know, like you don't have your doctorate or something, it's not a big deal. It does not mean that you can't help people. And for her particular situation, just being in the field as long as I have, like what happens often when you have been doing the work for a very long time, you take for granted the most, like the stuff becomes a part of who you are. And this is including for when you are giving advice to people. It might be the most basic information. Like I like to think about like, what is something that when I learned it, it really changed my perspective, even though it's so integrated as part of my life. But to those particular people, it's going to be like, this video is nothing special. And they might actually voice that to you. And that's what happened in this situation. But I want to stress it does not mean that you shouldn't be sharing. Like, I have a lot of respect for this particular woman who has worked her way up in the mental health field. But that does not mean that, like, the other people who saw this video, it wasn't helpful to them. And so that's something to keep into account. So when you respond, you don't have to get defensive. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing to defend. I just said, thanks for the feedback, but I still think we can all use the reminder from time to time, because I do believe that sometimes we need to hear this. A lot of times even if you're a therapist, like you might learn this in school, but you're also learning a ton of other things. And it's not until later on in your career, often out of necessity, that this is really like incorporated into your core fiber, if that makes sense. And I just said, I know the service providers that I've worked with over the years have appreciated it. So for me in particular, like I've worked with therapists, I've worked with social workers, I've worked with, all sorts of different types of practitioners, and they do appreciate this advice. And the point of this video is that part of putting yourself out there is receiving criticism. It isn't a big deal. And just because someone will voice you that it's not valuable to them does not make it not valuable, if that makes sense. And when you're certain of where you're coming from, like for instance, when I went to record this video, it was something that like I asked internally, like, what do people need to hear? And this was what I received as something that would be helpful for people. You're confident that what you're putting out is uh, you know, is going to fit your soulmate clients. Clearly, this isn't someone who's my soulmate client, and that doesn't mean that you have to get defensive or shut down. Because honestly, like I haven't been public for a while. I've been working on other things behind the scenes. And this could have a couple years ago really hurt my feelings that made me question myself. And that's not necessary, if that makes sense. When you are fully connected to your intuition and what you're here to help people with and the intuitive guidance coming from internally, you can confidently deliver that content, even if it isn't everybody's cup of tea, like I was talking about in the last video. And that doesn't make it less valuable. I hope that this helped, this role modeling of like, we all get criticized. It's no big deal, guys. I have one of my mentors that I follow. She's like, when you get your first hater, and this wasn't a hater, but when you get your first hater, you know that you've made it. So like when people get their first like hater or criticism, they'll come post in the group and they'll be like, oh, congratulations. Because really, if you're getting criticism, it means you're putting yourself out there. So congratulations. It's very exciting. And keep doing what you do no matter what. Not everybody's going to get it, but that's okay, right? All right, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day and I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.